And I could present proof and everything else. And then I had all my near death experiences too. And so, the whole reason I wanted to talk about this subject today is because people are unnecessarily going through life without joy and without love because they have judged themselves to be less than. But the fact is that we are not separate and we are all connected. This is a basic truth. This is not religion. This is a truth that religions have tried to explain and exploit in various different ways. But the thing is that we are all part. Everything that is made up of this enlivening substance. And I have felt this incredible love and connection. And I've seen what's on the other side, and it's nothing to be afraid of. Here's the thing that's important: people that do not love themselves are that way because they have judged themselves to be wrong or to be less than. So, first things first, when you go to the other side, the one who judges you is you.
This is the Wonder Network, where we discuss healthy options for humanity. I'm Michael Laine, and joining me today is my co-host, Dr. Val. Dr. Val is a retired seasoned naturopathic physician and a registered nurse with over 4 decades of experience spanning various realms of acute care, including emergency care, intensive care, cardiac care, home health, and home hospice. How you doing today, Dr. Val?
I'm doing pretty good, Michael. How are you doing?
Good, good. Doing great, doing great. So what's on the agenda today?
Well, I got another one of those hints, from my intuition that let me know that we really have a crisis in humanity right now. That's something that's usually not talked about, and that's love of ourselves. So, it's pretty easy to love someone else. Not so easy to love ourselves most of the time. So I wanted to get a little bit woo-woo today and go more on the spiritual end, not religious, but just start talking about, how do we get back to truly loving ourselves? Because that's important. It's a very important part of health. If you hate yourself, you're not going to heal very well because your whole body is feeling abandoned, for one thing.
Right.
But learning to love, or even to know sometimes, what can I do to get into loving myself again? So there's all kinds of things that really come along with that. And the standard thing is to change your lifestyle. First of all, start doing things that you love doing, unless you're a serial murderer. If that's the case, don't do that. Okay. My late husband used to go after people like that and taking out the trash, as he called it.
Let's be reasonable about it. Yeah.
Yeah, let's be reasonable. So we're talking about the beings of light and love who have become bogged down by millennia of difficult times on planet Earth. And along the way, even if we have learned to love ourselves at one point, we lost it. And that was my case. I worked for a long time to learn how to love myself. And I finally got there. And I was there for a good long time. And I had really wonderful peace, no matter what happened. And I used to get some people mad because I didn't get upset at things. I would just kind of look at it and go, oh, look at that. And, I was pretty peaceful and I was loving it. And I was loving myself and appreciating myself. And so, that lasted for a while and then it disappeared. And the reason it disappeared was because life intervened with a couple of relationships. And, it's like you get beaten down by what
Yes.
people say to you eventually, because they keep saying it and saying it and saying it. And that's a favorite thing of narcissists, to tell you a falsity about yourself and to pound it in until you start thinking it yourself. And then you can't love yourself. So there's lots of things that we can do to get back to that space of loving ourselves, and lots of ways that we can get out of loving ourselves. So before we really get into it, do you have any questions on this?
Well, it's always been an intriguing topic, and I get pretty much, what it's all about. Um, and and you talk about the narcissist thing, and I know some people have been stuck in those abusive relationships and this and that, and I know how that can, really get to where, you don't feel good about yourself at all. And when you don't feel good about yourself and your self-esteem is low and everything else, that's definitely detrimental and definitely not loving yourself. Where sometimes once in a while gets to be a hang up is when none of that's really happening. You're kind of on middle ground. You know, life's okay. It's not beating you down. You're okay in this and that. But are you really loving yourself in a manner that you should be? I mean, you feel okay
That's a
about
good
yourself,
question.
but you're not really treating, you hear about, treat yourself to stuff, take do stuff that you love, or, have a spa day, or anything, like you said, whatever you enjoy. Not everybody does that, but they said,
Yeah.
but you ask them, I feel fine. I'm okay. Everything good in your life? Yeah. Yeah, it's good. So for that person that's in the middle of the road like that, that's not feeling, a hit on their self-esteem and everything, but they're not really making a conscious effort to do things on them. Are they still do they still need more self-love per se without,
Yes.
if you know what
Yeah.
I'm getting at?
Yeah. Yeah. There's a lot to it. I mean, it seems simple on the surface. You either love yourself or you don't. But there's a lot of little twists and turns to it. For instance, narcissists hate themselves. And this is why they try to make other people feel less than they are,
Right.
because then that boosts them up, their egos, and they have very fragile egos. It's pretty easy to rip apart a narcissist, truthfully. But and I hate to have to rip anybody apart, but I'll make that exception for a narcissist, and then teach them how to build themselves back up with real love. And the thing is that's a long process. It's something that has come from childhood. And so, people go around saying, wow, that person's really full of themselves. And it's like, no, actually, they're not. They're empty. And they don't even know who they are, really. And so this is why they really love empaths. They seek empaths out above all else, especially
Yes.
one of the really highly evolved empaths, because a highly evolved empath most of the time will see what's going on, but will still try to help that person to their own detriment. And and they're done that. It's not fun. So, there's that extreme, but just understand that if someone doesn't love themselves, they can come out looking like they are full of themselves, and they're extremely confident when actually inside they're a little quaking child. They're terrified of everything, terrified somebody's going to find out about them, and they don't know how to get that feeling of love. And so they seek out someone who is a loving person, who will give them that love up to a point. And then, everybody's got a borderline. And at that point, when the border gets crossed too many times, even the best empath will turn on another path and leave that narcissist flailing. Now, usually the narcissist is pretty adept at kind of feeling when that's going to happen. And so they start looking for another victim right away. And so they don't want to spend any time without their source of love. So they're going to find somebody else most of the time. But a super empath is pretty good at being sneaky about it. And that will devastate a narcissist pretty damn quick. So So basically, here's what people need to understand is how do you feel love? Where does it come
Yes.
from? If you think it comes from another person, you're wrong. It comes from deep within you. And it's very important to understand the first part of this is that within each one of us, including the bad guys, there's a lot of people in the light tribe that are pointing fingers at the bad guys, telling them they're going to go to hell and all this other stuff, that's a whole other subject. I'm not even going to get into that. But the fact is that everything that exists is made of God's source. Everything. So that's humans, flora, fauna, inanimate objects, everything. And it's a degree of sentience that makes the difference. So for instance, when you get unconditional love from an animal or from a partner, what you're really actually getting is the opening of their heart that shows you the source of love. Now, if somebody's a bad guy, are you going to see that? No. They're going to have their heart so closed down because they can't afford to let anybody see into them. Whereas a very open, loving person, you know that right away. People love to be around them.
Yep.
And they love to help them and they love to love them because that person is radiating out the love. But the love does not come from them really. It comes from the God spark or source or whatever you want to call it that animates each of us. So just think about, first of all, wrap your head around the fact that the bad guys are playing a role. So are we. Everybody's playing a role. And everything is part of this whole. Now, this is not a religious belief that I'm espousing. This is something that I discovered through my many near-death experiences, and have really put it into play in my life. And it's brought me greater understanding and greater connection with that God spark. So as you become enlightened, as they call it, what you're actually doing is opening more to the God spark within. And so you're becoming actually conscious of that is within, and realizing that we can never be separate from that, ever. I don't care what you do, how bad you are, you cannot be separate from God. You can ignore it, but the fact is that we are not separate and we are all connected. This is a basic truth. This is not religion. This is a truth that religions have tried to explain and exploit in various different ways. But the thing is that we are all part. Everything that is made up of this enlivening substance that we call God or source or, whatever you want to call it.
The
As I've said
universe.
many
Yeah.
times.
Yeah. The list goes on and on. Yeah.
Yeah, there's thousands of names for what we
Yep.
call God. Doesn't care what you call it, it only cares that you call it. And I have felt this incredible love and connection. And I've seen what's on the other side, and it's nothing to be afraid of. And it's really, here's the thing that's important. People that do not love themselves are that way because they have judged themselves to be wrong or to be less than. So first things first, let me give you an actual fact, not only corroborated by myself and other people that have been near death, but when you go to the other side, the one who judges you is you, just you. God's source is not sitting there judging you. The council is not sitting there judging you. No one is sitting in judgment of you. What happens is the light of truth shines upon you. You see who you were, not only in this life, but in all of your lifetimes, and any parts of you. And I mean, that can get really woo-woo. Some point we may talk about that, of all the different things that we've been besides human. But the thing is that there is no judgment. And so you're not going to get sent to hell unless you really believe that. If you believe that you deserve to go to hell, then that's where you're going. And it will be a hell of your own making. Because our loving source does not punish its children. And so once you understand that, once you really get it, your life's going to be a heck of a lot better. And right now, there's probably a bunch of people out there thumping their Bibles and screaming at me.
I was going to say, yeah. Religion would have you believe otherwise. Yeah.
Yeah,
Most
religion is there to
religions. Yeah.
control you.
Yeah.
And
I know.
at the very start, it was probably somebody's attempt to explain the all, to explain how amazing that is. And then all these little rules and regulations got put in there that really are not part of it. And so, if you really take the time to go back and look through all of the ancient texts and things and translations that you can, which I did, and I
That's a
did it
lot.
for over a year, 12 hours a day, I was on a
Wow.
mission. And that was just to answer one question: what is the name of God? And I looked and looked and looked. And I found out all kinds of information that nobody wanted to hear, and ostracized my family, my friends. A few people stuck around, but a lot of them were so stuck in the dogma with the blinders
Yeah.
fully on that they could not hear. And I could present proof and everything else. And then I had all my near-death experiences too. And so, the whole reason I wanted to talk about this subject today is because people are unnecessarily going through life without joy and without love, because they have judged themselves to be less than. And I can tell you that that's entirely your doing. And maybe other people like narcissists helped you along.
Does
But
that
the
fall in the
fact
realm of
is,
like having a low self-esteem?
yeah, you can have low self-esteem two ways. You can think that you're not enough, or you could think that you're more than anyone else. They're both low self-esteem, both of them. And the one where you think you're more than everybody else, that's the worst one.
Yeah.
It's really, really bad.
I could see that. Yeah.
Yeah. And so, at some point, both of them are out of balance. They're just, different sides of the same seesaw. So you want to get to that fulcrum, to the point of balance. And you want to see what is, not what other people tell you is, including me. You don't have to believe me. Go look it up yourself. Do some research. Get off of your butt. Do some research, and ask. I mean, in so many ways, so many different spiritual leaders throughout our history have said to go ask. Well,
Yeah.
who do you ask? You go within. Everything that you need is within you.
Within. Yep.
Yeah. So you go within. So now, how do we do that? You go within first. If you've not done this before, it's actually quite simple. You start by taking 3 deep breaths and just allowing yourself to relax. And after the 3rd deep breath, you continue to breathe deep and slow and easy. And you just feel yourself kind of sinking down to your heart. This is not a head thing. This is a heart thing. Okay. So you're going to just see yourself going down to your heart. And we'll do a little meditation on that in a minute, or at the end, I think, because right now we're going to use the left brain. So you go down to your heart, and that's where you make your connection to that eternal spark, or the eternal flame, whatever you want to call it, the God spark. Okay, so that's where you ask your question. And it has to be a yes or no question. And so you want to think about whatever question you're going to ask. Then very simply ask that question, and then breathe and wait for the answer. The answer is going to come to you as a feeling. And so if the answer is yes, you're going to feel a lightness, and you're going to feel a joy, maybe a little flip of joy,
Yeah.
some enthusiasm, or just warm fuzzies. you're going to feel something that feels good. If the answer is no, you're going to feel a tightness, a drawing in, maybe a dread or a little tingle of fear. Okay. So your yes or no can guide you in everything that you want to do. And I could go into a whole lot more about that, but that's basically the basic thing that you want to know. First of all, is when you're asking for answers for your spiritual health, that's how you do it. Go within to the heart. In other words, bring your consciousness down to your heart.
Right.
With the intent to connect with the God spark within you.
Intent's okay? Everything. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's, we talk about it as if we are in it. We're actually, it's in us, but actually we are within it because it is everything.
Right.
And that's just our connection point. So when I'm talking about the God spark within, I'm talking about that little tiny pinhole that you're going to find, the pinhole of light that is within your heart chakra. And you're going to concentrate on that and get your answers. And then what happens after that is in the moments that you have that are quiet, where your monkey mind isn't constantly keeping you busy, you'll get further answers. Things will occur to you and you'll be like, oh, now I understand. And I can't tell you how many times I've had this revelation type stuff happen to me. And it's always amazing. It's like, wow, I didn't think of that before. And, one of the other things that comes into this is the whole quantum physics of our brains. We don't actually think our thoughts, they come from elsewhere. Scientists have already found that out. So it's like, where are they coming from? We're antennas, we're receivers and transmitters.
Right.
So where is this coming from? Well, it comes from what we call the higher mind or a higher self. It's not a part of the body because remember, receiver, transmitter.
Right.
That's it. And so your thought has already been thought by something higher than you. It is a part of you, or you're a part of it. There really is no separation. We perceive separation, but there really isn't any. And so what you're doing then is you're looking to make that connection in order to find out, who am I really? And what's going on in my life? And can I be loved? And the answer is yes, you can. I don't care how bad you've been. You can be loved. It's up to you. What part do you want to play? Our source creator God loves us unconditionally. And we have no concept of what that is here on earth because we have all these conditions. You love someone unconditionally until you don't like what they do.
Yeah.
That's not unconditional love.
True.
Unconditional love is
not unconditional. Love. It's not like how our pets are with us. Yeah. Our pets are more unconditional love than we are.
But they're still not completely pure either, because if you do something they don't like, they're not going to unconditionally love you.
They have their limits too. Yeah.
Yeah. And then, that's necessary in 3D life. So, I can tell you that I've had the experience of having that connection open within me of that God spark and being taken for a ride inside of 35 other people at once. And seeing and feeling what our source creator God really thinks of us and really feels about us. And all it is love. And it is delighted with us, with everything that we do. So it's kind of like, I look at it more now that we're in the computer age. It's more like we're the avatars in a game.
Right.
And the divine source is playing this game with itself. But it gives free will to the avatars in order to ensure that it is delighted and surprised by everything. And I was surprised, because I was raised Christian, and there's all these rules that you have to follow.
Yes,
and
there really is.
Those rules are suggestions for you to have a better life, but they don't explain why. And they certainly don't, excuse me, I got a aggressive mosquito trying to attack me. And anyhow, it's something that we don't really understand, especially if you're really stuck in the dogma. Religious dogma is a path to hell, if there was a hell, because what it does is it takes away your free will and it separates you from our God source within. And nothing should stand between you and that God source within. Nothing. No book, no priest, no cleric, nothing.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Yeah. And the thing is that, people might have seen that in one of their religious texts, but they ignored it because it was just a little passing thing. So what you want to do is start to connect with your God source within through your heart. Sorry, guys. Whiny little mosquito.
He likes you. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, well, it's a she. Only the she mosquitoes whine. And
Really?
Yeah, they're the ones that bite you. And yeah, that's a whole other story.
Well, of course they do.
Yeah. Yeah. Uh-huh. Yeah, whole other story.
Couldn't help it. I just threw that
Yeah.
out. I know. And I just, yeah.
Yeah. So what you
And
want
you're
to do is,
saying,
yeah, I don't have unconditional love for mosquitoes. I haven't gotten there yet. So I guess that's why I don't have a halo around.
it's hard to have unconditional love for a bloodsucker. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, I haven't attained sainthood so far, at least as far as I know. But and maybe the mosquitoes are one of the blockages. I don't know. But anyhow, what you want to do is start to think about what can you do to have greater connection and with that God source within. And if you're running off to look at your Bibles now, okay, fine. Excuse me while I roll my eyes. I love you. And I really wish the best for you. And I really wish for you to learn to love yourselves. And whatever it's going to take for you to get there, whether it's a book or a church or other people, that's okay. That's your path. It's okay. I'm just telling you what I found out on my path. And what I found out is people don't love themselves enough, including me. Now, I was at that point, but it took me work to get there. So it's going to take you work? Yeah. Mm-hmm. You're going to have to do something. But it's vitally important that you learn how to love yourself. And I'm speaking especially to light workers. Because, we're so busy going around giving love and light to everybody that we can.
Yep.
But, what about us? What about ourselves? How are you judging yourself? And unfortunately, due to religious dogma throughout the world, no matter what religion you're part of, there are all these things that teach us to judge ourselves. And that's a problem because it's putting a block between you and the God source and saying that you're not worthy. And that's not true. You're worthy. You're here in a body, aren't you?
Yep.
You're in a life. You're worthy.
Exactly. Yep.
If you weren't worthy, you wouldn't be here.
Yep.
So that's the first thing to understand. If you get nothing else, get that. Okay? Because we all have a part. If we were all alike and we never had any problems, which we think we'd like, we don't realize we'd be bored right away. If we didn't have all of these differences and these experiences to help us to become more of who we really are, it'd be awfully boring for one thing, but we also wouldn't grow.
True. Yeah.
So with having all these differences, we learn. So now it's time to learn to love yourself. Because if you want to do what they're calling ascension, if you want to move up into a higher realm or dimension or level, whatever, the first thing you're going to have to do is learn to love yourself. Because if you can't love yourself, then you haven't gotten to the part where you understand what everybody else is up to. And, if you're a person who goes around hating people that you have judged to be less than correct, you got a lot of work to do. And the first thing is to learn to love yourself. And I had a hard time with that because I found it very easy to love others, but not myself. And it took me a lot of work, a lot of meditation, a lot of seeking. And I finally got it. And boy, when I did, I was levitating a couple feet out of my body. And I couldn't get back in for a while. It was total bliss because that's what's real.
Right.
And all of the times that I've had that real connection with our source, it has been nothing but bliss, love, absolute, unconditional, perfect love. And that is the only reality. This other stuff, all the stuff that we go through on a day-to-day basis, that's part of the illusion. And it's there to teach us things, to teach us to find ourselves. And so the best way to do that is to learn to love yourself. And the more that you know about yourself from a point of love and less of judgment, then the more fun you're going to have, the more you'll be able to handle whatever happens in life. And the better people and animals and plants and houses and everything else you will attract to yourself because you will be radiating. And one thing I found when I did the quantum vortex experiment years ago with Dr. Fred Bell's equipment, I did an actual study, 8 people and a dog. The dog was the enlightened being, by the way. I mean, for real.
Okay.
Not the psychics. I had a couple professional psychics in there and a couple other, really high church going people and things. And no, they were not enlightened. The dog was. And we measured that with a resonant field imaging detector. And some people would use a Aura machine or whatever. There's lots of ways to do it because everything is color, light, and sound, everything that makes up our world. And so I did these measurements and I found out that when people had a love experience, like when they connected, even for a few seconds, with what is, they came out of the room radiant, and radioactive. And I had a radiation detector, so I figured, well, when you're doing a study, you want to study everything that you can because you don't know what you might wish that you had put in there. So I measured radiation levels on everybody. They were radioactive.
Wow.
Yeah. Not dangerously radioactive, but you could tell. It was well over.
And this is when they've hit an enlightened state.
Yeah.
Like, kind of like when you like raising your vibration or whatnot, you
raising
become more radioactive.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Wow.
Yeah. And what we found too was that when they had those experiences, they would get up to a certain point and we could tell what color their chakras were by the frequency. And so we found they'd get to a certain point and the chakras would go black, whichever chakra was changing.
Oh.
And so as we measured that, we were kind of scratching our heads and going, what's really going on with that? And it finally occurred to us as we poured over all the records at the end of the study that, hey, they leaped up another octave in their frequencies. And the black is the part between. And that's what happens to us when we die, too, by the way. There's just blackness when we come out of the body. And then you go to wherever it is you want to go to. And so, I've talked before about, I've never been through the tunnel of light. I've just been out, poof, in the blackness. And then I'm traveling to the council and seeing what I came to do and all that kind of stuff. So the same thing happens in our chakras. And I was really surprised to find that out. And it held. So like the next week when they would come in and we'd go through measuring this stuff again, we'd find out that, that chakra was indeed still operating at that higher frequency. So every modicum of love that you can instill within yourself is going to raise your frequencies. And so when you raise your frequencies, you're actually moving up into another level. And so the quantum physicists have found that there are all of these worlds piled in on top of each other. So when you see ghosts and things like that, sometimes you're seeing down a level, sometimes you're seeing up. And each level is only about a quarter of a turn one way or the other and slightly up. And it's like about a 45-degree turn. And then you're in a higher realm, basically.
Right.
Whether you stay there or not depends upon whether you can hold that frequency or not. And so
you can bounce up there real quick and actually come right back down.
Yeah. Well, and if you've seen things like the Celestine Prophecy, there was a movie made on that, and the 10th Insight. Check that out if you haven't. There was the book that took you up to 9 insights, and then there's the 10th Insight.
I've heard of it. Yeah.
And then there was the movie. It portrays it very well. That you can be invisible to the bad guys when your frequency is high. This is why you want to stay out of fear. Fear is a low frequency. It's the lowest.
Right.
But love is the highest. And so when you can maintain that, you can be safe no matter where you are, because you're not in the same dimension or the same frequency range, realm.
Is that the same as actually also changing timelines? You're in a different timeline when you raise up?
Yeah. Yeah, all these things change, and we're going through that right now, which is exciting as anything for me.
Yeah.
Because I've known all this stuff for a long time and experienced it, and people just would roll their eyes or think I was totally crazy, and I'd be like, all right, that's okay. One of these days, if you want to see it, and if you do the work to raise your frequencies, then you will see it, because this is part of what we go through as humans, and the animals go through it too. So, we're not alone. We're not that special. Pretty much anything that
as much as we like to think so. Yeah.
Yeah, we like to think we are, but
Yeah.
Yeah. How does that song go? Don Henley's song, God's perfect little creatures.
Yeah.
Yeah. Whistling past the graveyard in the dark. So yeah, we have a lot of growing to do yet, but we have grown a lot as well. And so start with whatever it is that you can bring up and that is good for you. Think about an experience that gave you the warm fuzzies, like a gift that you gave to somebody and they were so thrilled, or the love that you shared with somebody, whether it's a husband, wife, child, sibling, whatever, where you actually felt even at least one instant of the warm fuzzies, or where you helped somebody that really needed some help and you felt that connection, that heart connection.
Unlock your natural healing gifts and transform lives. Are you intuitive, compassionate, and driven to make a difference? The Wonder Network offers you a path to turn your calling into a fulfilling career in the healing arts. Imagine helping others while building a rewarding profession, all within 60 to 90 days, and we even have payment plans to help get you started. Our holistic health training courses empower you to develop your unique healing abilities, start earning while you learn, join a supportive community of like-minded individuals. Ready to embrace your true potential? Click now to discover how the Wonder Network can guide you towards a meaningful career in holistic healing. Your journey begins here.
Start with that. Look through your life and see where those things have happened. And so now some people out there can already hear you saying, I have never had anything like that. Well, okay. I'm sorry, first of all, because you deserve much better than that. And you can make that happen now. Okay. By first of all, realizing that there is that God spark within you. And that is your eternal life. And you can't get rid of it. You don't own it. It owns you. So you can't get rid of it no matter what you do.
You're stuck with it. Yeah.
It is always going to be there loving you, always. Now, what path you take to get back to it is up to you. And how soon it happens, that's also up to you. Because remember, the great source of all that is loving you and your life experience that you have chosen to undertake by your free will. And let me give you a couple examples of people who thought that they couldn't be love. I mean, if you have to put on Bob Marley and listen to Could You Be Love over and over, do that. You know,
Whatever works. Yeah.
Takes.
Yeah.
But I remember when I was doing home health, there was this one quadriplegic little old man, cute as anything, and he was blind. And he could not move anything but his eyelids and his mouth, basically.
No.
Everything else was paralyzed. So he was laying in that bed, completely dependent upon his family and caregivers to take care of him for the rest of his life. And I was in there working on him one day, and he was just crying. And so I said, "Oh my gosh, what's wrong? Are you in pain?" And he said, "No, I don't feel anything." But he said, I'm just laying here wondering why I'm still alive. Why? He said, "I can't see." He said, "I can hear and I can speak, and I'm grateful for that." But he said, "I can't move anything. I'm completely dependent upon others. I'm a burden on them." I said, "Not according to what your family said to me." I said, "They love you and they don't want you to suffer, but they love you and they don't want you to leave prematurely either." And I said, "So what do you do trapped in the prison of your body? What do you do all day?" And he said, "Well, I lay here and I pray for the little children of the world." I said, "How long do you do that?" He said, "All day, until I fall asleep." I said, "Do you know that you are worth more than most of the millionaires and billionaires and people that think they're so important? You're worth so much more than all of those piled together. Because no matter how much money they give, no matter what charities they support or anything like that, they're not doing what you're doing, which is you are lending the life that you have, the energy that you have, to helping all of the children of the world. That's amazing."
Yes.
That was something. I mean, I get warm fuzzies just thinking about that. Because here's this guy who had every reason to hate and every reason to be miserable every moment of his life, whatever he had left. And yet he wasn't. That's a saint, that's somebody who gets it. Who gets it that, whatever it is that we're here doing and the experiences that have happened to us have been for a reason. They're never random. I mean, we may think they're random, but they're not.
Sometimes we do. Yep. They're not.
Yeah. I mean, they may be accidents, but they're not really random. They're all different opportunities that could happen to us to help us to discover ourselves. So when you start compiling more of a connection with that God spark within and discovering more of yourself, then you'll start to see more and more of your real self, which is an amazing being of love and light. That's all there is. All this fear and the anger and the evilness and all that stuff, that's not actually real. It feels damn real because we're in the game.
Yeah.
But it's not actually real. The only thing that exists actually is love. That's it. Love and light. But I guess that got boring. So
Yeah, of course it did. Yeah.
Floating around in bliss, you're eternal. What are you going to do?
Yeah.
So
got to spice things up while we're in this duality. Yeah.
Yeah. So, here we are, God's finest little creatures, or so we think. And so I say work for it, you know, learn meditation. Like one of the things that helped me was the Silva mind control meditation.
I, it's funny you bring that up. I did the Silva mind control meditation years ago. That was one of the first things I got into I think that might have been the first time I ever got into meditation was with the
Yeah,
Silva.
me too.
And I don't know why. And I did it for quite a while. It was great, but I've gotten away from it. I still
Yeah.
have it here on CD somewhere. The program, the whole program. Yeah.
Well, it's on YouTube too. They don't have the whole
Is it?
program, but they have, snippets of it here and there. But one of the things that helped me was, you go down in the meditation and you're in a valley and
Yep.
you go to a pool, and the pool of love. And so you see the letters on the pool. And first you look in and you see your reflection. And then they ask you, what do you look like? And then you dive into the pool and you soak up all the love until there's no more letters on the pool. And then you jump out and you get into a big baggie, and you tie it with ribbons of whatever colors, and then you go do your work. And so I did that, and it took me 3 months because I was going through a bad divorce with my first husband, who was trying to kill me. And he looked for me for a long time, trying to kill me. And by the time he finally found me, he'd gotten past that. But I didn't do anything wrong. He was kind of a little, and I had gotten him to go see a pastoral counselor once. And then I found out that he had lied to the counselor. So, oh yeah, we're talking psychotic here.
Yeah,
That was
I
not
think
fun.
so.
Yeah, not fun. So I had quite a journey to work on forgiving him, because I did not want to come to a confrontation with this guy and have to kill him. And now that may sound weird unless you know that I was a martial artist. So it was like, I don't want to have to do that. I know I can do it, but I don't want to have to do that. And so I just kept moving. And I worked on being able to forgive him and love him for 3 months every day. I meditated so many hours. And I like the Silva mind control meditation because it's a working meditation. Instead of sitting there and chanting one word or one sentence, you're actually doing something. And so I found it quite useful in life because I could accomplish a heck of a lot more things because I'd already worked on them while the body was sleeping. And so, yeah, so I was really heavy into forgiving and becoming love. And I did it. And when I did, I happened to be in my psychic class at the time, and I was floating about 4 feet above my body, and I was in total bliss. And my teacher looked up and saw me. She was a medium, and she was like, "Okay, why don't you come back to your body now?" And so I did, came back in my body, and I was just grinning from ear to ear. She said, "You did it, didn't you?" I said, "Yeah, I love him. I love him. I forgive him. And now I can move on." And, think about that. Every day for 3 months, I did this stuff. And was it work? Yeah, it was work. Did I want to forgive him? No. But I did it because I realized it was for my best interest as well.
Right.
And when you do things like that, when you're able to get to that forgiveness of somebody that has wronged you, whether they did it purposely or accidentally, doesn't matter. You still have that pain. Until you can get to that forgiveness, you cannot be released of the pain. And so that's an important thing to do for yourself, because pain, like fear, is a low vibration.
Yeah.
So no matter what happened, you've got to get to forgiveness so that you can get to love. And if you have to work at it every day like I did, well, then work at it. There are some horrendous things that people have done to other people in this world
Yes,
and are
there is.
continuing to do.
Yep.
But the way that you get out of it is that you do this forgiveness and becoming love. And the more of us that do that, the less the bad guys can do their nefarious deeds. So I have a vested interest in this, and I kind of think everybody that lives on this planet does.
I think so.
Yeah.
We are definitely in some interesting times with some recent events, that would
And that's
pertain to
exactly
this.
why I wanted to talk about this, because
Yep.
we just went through the annular eclipse.
Yeah.
And one of the things that happened that I was wondering what was going on, because I've been feeling like I've been dragged back and forth like a yo-yo for, oh gosh, basically since April. And it turns out that, yeah, that's been corroborated by several other people. And what they said was that, yes, we did the ascension and the bad guys pulled us back down to this timeline. But we actually were up in the higher timeline and or the realm, whatever you want to call it. And I felt that. I felt it with this eclipse. And what I felt was a greater connection with our source creator God that was amazing, completely freaking amazing. And, I've felt these things before because I've had a lot of interesting experiences in life.
So we got pulled back down with the eclipse.
Yeah. Well, we went up and then we came back down because the bad guys didn't
Right.
want to let go. So they interfered with our creation and with our choice,
Right.
which then allowed the divine ones to come in and interfere too. But they couldn't act until that happened. So we've been yanked back and forth like a yo-yo. So if people are feeling out of sorts, that's why. If you don't know if you're coming or going, and 1 minute you feel great, the next minute you feel, ugh, yeah, welcome to planet Earth.
Yeah.
We are going through a process.
My oldest
And
daughter actually has just been complaining to me how she's feeling pretty horrible. She's very empathic, and she's
yeah,
the past couple of days she has not felt well at all.
yeah, and that's all part of this. And lots of things are coming up to be cleared, not only mentally and emotionally, but also physically. Like I had a couple weird things happen that I had to sit down and think about that one for a while. And then I went within and asked Source to help because it was so weird and could have been dangerous physically. And so I had to know, well, should I take this body to the hospital or can I deal with this myself? Well, the answer was that I could deal with it myself. I'm like, okay. So I asked for healing help and I put my hand on my leg and I got so hot that I just about broke into a sweat. And I was like, oh boy, I need the air conditioner to flick on. And it was really interesting because I got at least 50% healed in a few seconds. And I've worked on myself a lot and never had it happen like that. So that was an interesting side effect. And then I had another thing kick off that apparently is a healing thing that is really not a whole pleasant thing to go through. But I'm sticking with it. And I am deciding that not only am I healing, but I am becoming more of myself. And I am learning to love myself, the real me.
Right.
And that's not a human thing. That's actually, your highest self. So I'm learning to get more into connection with that. Now, here's one caveat though. If you are near to that, or you do experience that sometime in the near future, remember that if you're in that state where you are crying uncontrollably with love for your highest self or the real you, that you cannot stop, then you need to do something immediately or you could suffer physical damage.
Oh.
And because that vibration is too high and your body can't hold it.
Oh.
You can't hold it without damage. Okay.
Okay.
So what you do is you go do some labors in nature, as my mentor used to say. And I had to ask him, what the heck does that mean?
What, like taking a hike through nature?
You could take a hike. He told me go work in the garden.
Okay.
And so I did. And that really helped because I could not stop crying, which is why I called him. I had never had that happen before.
Wow.
I mean, first of all, I'm not a histrionic person. But secondly, these were tears of joy, of absolute blissful joy.
Right.
And I couldn't stop it. And I knew that I had to do something. I didn't think it was okay to continue like that. And it wasn't. He said, if I hadn't gone and done what I did, which was basically create a nature scene for my mom with rocks, I went out and bought a couple tons of rocks and unloaded them and did the whole nature scene.
Right.
Did all that stuff. It was a lot of work, but it worked. The other thing you can do is just walk outside. You want to get on some dirt or some rocks or grass, and you want to do this barefoot.
Barefoot.
And you want to either squat down or bend over and put your hands down on the earth too, and ask
Ground
Mother
yourself
Earth to drain the excess energy out of you, and to only leave what is healing. And you'll feel better, like immediately.
Okay.
And I've had patients that have called me up after they tried some spiritual thing that they shouldn't have, and got themselves in a fix and thought they were having a stroke. And so, either a stroke or a heart attack. And in both cases, I said, go out, put your feet on the ground barefoot, bend over, put your hands on the ground, or squat down or sit or whatever you have to do, and stay there until you feel light inside and until you feel more normal.
Right.
And just ask Mother Earth to help you drain that energy out. Mother Earth can use it for something else. You can grow some new flowers there or something, whatever.
Yeah, she'll transmute it into something good. Yeah.
Yeah, she'll transmute it into something. And so when you do that, and this is not normally taught to a lot of people.
No, it is not.
This is important, because you can reach such a state of ecstasy that you are really literally unable to function as a human. And, in India, they know about this stuff. They talk about it being samadhi, and they're known as divine fools. They go around crying and singing and, eyes up to the heavens. And they're so in love with the God source.
Right.
They have to be fed. They have to be toileted. They have to be washed, clothed, and everything, because they are completely unable to do anything because they're up there.
Right.
Body's still walking around down here, but they're up there.
Right.
So in order to avoid that, all you have to do is go out in nature. Ask nature to help you. Hug a tree. You can also hug a tree if you're in despair.
Right.
Because the trees are what Native Americans called the standing people. They have an aura just like ours. And they love us and they want to help us. So go hug a tree. It works both ways. You can use it to dump negative energies. You can use it to balance two positive energies. And it happens very quickly. And it's an amazing process when you go through this. So the main thing is just, take care of yourself. Like everything else, I'm all about, helping people to heal and to find truth and love. Those two things are the most important to me. And I've been through a lot of experiences searching for both of those things. So for those of you who are in despair or have family members or other loved ones that you want to help, maybe have them sit down and watch this video and help them as you learn to help yourself. Because love is all that there is. I'm here to tell you, I've been on the other side several times. Love is all that exists. All this other stuff is games. They say the world is an illusion. Well, yeah. Just look at it this way. I see Source in my mind's eye as sitting in his private movie theater, watching the movie, eating popcorn. Or whatever, whatever image that you want to get to trying to get yourself to understand. And I mean, it's an amazing thing. So learning to love yourself, there's all kinds of ways to do it. So look it up and, see what can you do? Like do some things that you really love to do. Like
self-care,
I've had
basically.
just find out what you love to do and go do it. pamper yourself.
Yeah.
I've had a lot of women that women are really famous for not loving themselves enough, because we're all about giving.
Giving, nurturing others. Yeah.
We want to show everybody that we love them, and
Yeah.
we want to do what we can for them, but then we get run ragged.
Yep.
And we don't stop to take care of ourselves. And yeah, that was me. Yeah, I'm trying to do better now. It's taken me a lifetime to get to the point of trying to do better with myself.
Good.
But I would tell them, go take a bubble bath if you like bubble baths. Go take a bath in champagne if you want to and can afford it. Go on a hike, go out to the beach, do whatever it is that you like to do. Go have lunch with friends, whatever. Find something. What is it that you love to
garden?
do?
Yeah, gardening in your yard, or anything. I mean, it could be real simple. Yeah.
Yeah, but some people are at such a state of despair that they can't think of anything that they love to do.
Right.
That's pretty deep despair. So in that case, think back about when you were a child. And even if you were in a satanic abuse family, and there's plenty of those too, they didn't have things happening to you all the time, did they? And if they did you not leave your body and go be with an angel or with the Christ?
Yeah.
Or with Buddha or whoever your world teacher is? Did you not have some experiences with them? And so think back, find something back then. What did you love to do? If you love to eat ice cream, okay, go get yourself an ice cream.
But put a smile on your face. Yeah.
Put a smile on your face.
Yeah.
Watch a comedy. Do something. Listen to some music that's heart healing, 528 hertz. You can use 432 hertz as well.
432 works too. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And so what you want to do is you want to find a way to help yourself, because who else is going to do it for you?
Yeah, exactly.
I didn't have anybody do it for me. I had to figure it out. So yeah, figure it out. I think that's one of my keynote phrases, since I became a doctor. Figure it out.
Figure it out.
Yeah. And there's plenty of help out there now that was not there years ago when I was growing up. Now we have YouTube, and we have all these social networks. I try to stay off the social networks as much as possible, especially the things like Facebook, which would just get you all riled up for no reason, So yeah, I stay away from that kind of stuff. What I do is I look at things that bring me joy, because and believe it or not, joy is actually a higher frequency than love. And that's because it's active. So love is, and joy is an action. And so, I look at things that bring me joy. I watch funny pet videos, or I'll watch, movies or series that I enjoy that make me laugh. There's all kinds of stuff out there. Laughter will increase your frequency.
Good, hugely.
Hearty, healthy laughter.
Yep.
And so, you can look at jokes. You can do all kinds of stuff, or go do something silly yourself. I used to entertain myself when I was a teenager just to see what people would do, and it cracked me up. People are funny. So are animals.
Yeah, they are.
We're all pretty funny.
Yes.
And so I would go do harmless stuff just to see. Like I remember I went to one party one time and I was kind of bored sitting in the corner, and I was like, well, I might as well just put this lampshade on my head. So I did. And I sat there and waited to see if somebody would notice. And people cracked up when they saw that. And they're like, why did you do that? And I said, well, I didn't have anything else to do. So I'm just
you got them to laugh. Yeah.
Yeah. That's the thing. So, make your own joy and find something to do that you can do. And if you're like the poor paraplegic guy who couldn't do anything, then go within your own mind and find something that is helpful, that gives you warm fuzzies, whatever. There was another guy that I talked to that in home health that was also, I think he was a paraplegic, not a quad, but he was very limited. And what he did was he prayed for prisoners. And he never missed a day except for once. And when he did, there was a riot at the prison. And he said, "It's all my fault. I was so tired. I didn't pray for them." I said, "That's not your fault." I said, "That was going to happen no matter what. And the dark side just wants you to think it's your fault."
Yeah.
But the fact is that all of those other days that you've done these prayers for these people that are there to keep them calm and keep them out of fear and keep them acting like decent human beings, that's great service. So if you can do nothing else, perform a great service for others, even if it's just in your head. And when you do that kind of stuff, you'll start to feel your spirit lifting. You'll start to feel more of a connection with a God spark within. And as you feel more of that, you will be able to feel more of why you can be loved and why you can be love. And when you do it enough, you will become radioactive. You will.
Yeah, that's crazy. The radioactive part. That's still.
Yeah, I was surprised. I had no idea.
That's crazy. That blows me away. Yeah.
Yeah, that was really cool. It wasn't anything dangerous, But the thing is that, if you look at most of the New Age speakers, like Abraham Hicks and Joe Dispenza and Greg Braden and all of these people, one of the things that they have come to is like, yeah, radiate love, radiate light.
True. Yeah.
We can.
Right.
This is something the bad guys can't do. The reason they can't is because they don't have that connection. We can do it. We can connect. And when you do connect, you get some benefits, and some of those benefits are amazing. I mean, I could write a book about the amazing things that have happened in my life, and maybe someday I will.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, but in the meantime, I can tell you that learning to love yourself is one of the most important things, if not the most important thing in this world. Because everything is going to stem from that. Your actual ascendancy into a higher dimension, a higher timeline, a better life is through radiating love. And if you truly want to love someone else, you have to first love yourself. You cannot unconditionally love someone else if you don't love yourself.
True.
So hopefully that helps some people out there.
I think so. So yeah, in a nutshell, self-care equals self-love.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, it does. Don't put off the things that are self-care.
Right.
Trust me, it's not a pretty picture if you do. Yeah, I've been through years of illness because I did not take care of myself as well as I took care of others. And so, it took me a lifetime to learn this, I didn't have time.
Well, and like you said, it's very common with women, it's in their nature to nurture others.
Yeah.
It's something that comes natural to them. So, but in the
Especially with
process,
empaths.
yeah, you put so much on your plate, you don't leave enough time for yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
True. Okay. Do you have any other questions?
I don't. I think this is, I think this has been a great topic.
Meditation.
Okay, let's do it.
Okay. All right. So wherever you are, if you're driving a car or operating heavy machinery or something, don't do this now. You can click off now. We're done, except we're going to do this meditation. And so the meditation is quick and easy. So get comfortable, sit with your feet flat on the floor or lay down. And you want your spine straight. And put your hands on your knees if you're sitting, or across your solar plexus if your abdomen, if you're lying down. And you want to start taking 3 deep breaths. So take a deep breath in, long and slow, deep breath. And then exhale gently, Let the breath fall out. Then another deep breath in and out. And another deep breath in and out. And now continue to breathe slow and deep. And bring your consciousness, your thoughts, what you consider to be you, down to your heart. You can envision it any way that you like. You can slide down there. You can go down a spiral staircase. You can jump. Anything that helps you to get to your heart. And when you get to your heart, sit there and notice that in front of you is an incredibly beautiful, scintillating light, mostly white, but at the edges you can see colors coming and going, clear, beautiful colors. This is the divine spark of your eternal life, the God spark within. And as you breathe in some of that divine light as it extends towards you, so that with every breath you are breathing in more divine light. And as you exhale, the light is dissipating any darkness. It just goes poof. And now, think of a question that you would like to ask the divine source. A simple yes or no question. And take a moment to formulate your question. And then ask it to yourself. And see that question floating towards the divine light. And it disappears into the divine light. And as you're waiting, you continue to breathe slow and deep. And wait for the feeling. And as the answer comes to you, you may hear it, you may not. You may see it, you may not. But you will feel it. What is the feeling that you feel? Is it one of lightness, of joy, of warm fuzzies, of content? Or is it a feeling of dread, tightness, anxiety, fear? And now we're going to go back up and we bow to the divine source with gratitude that we are a part of that. And we go back up, all the way up to the head. connecting everything back up, opening eyes, hearing sounds around, moving. And we carry this feeling of connection with Divine Source with us throughout our day. And by the feeling that you got, that is your answer. Positive good feelings are yes. Negative fear feelings are no. Your heart will not lie. Your head will, but your heart will never lie to you. And you can go and do that connection with the divine spark within anytime you want, no matter what condition you're in, and it's free.
That's the best part.
Yes, absolutely. And for all that have taken part in this, thank you. I wish you the best. And I love you.
Thank you, Dr. Val, and thank you for everybody for coming to this. This is the Wonder Network, where we discuss healthy options for humanity. For Dr. Val, I'm Michael Laine, and we'll see you next time.